Hey everyone, so I've really been enjoying Deadlock, which is a new MOBA made by Valve. I guess they decided Dota 2 wasn't enough or something. Anyway, I've played a few dozen hours or so, and while I don't have a ton of experience on every character, I think I have enough to make a beginner guide slash what I wish I knew before I started type video for those of you who are interested. So, the first thing I'm really going to recommend, which I know is probably not what you want to hear, but I'm going to say it anyway, is to play the tutorial and play against bots for at least a couple of games, almost regardless of the MOBA experience you currently have, although the less you have, the more I recommend the bot games. There's a lot to learn about the game that you shouldn't be trying to learn in the middle of a match, mainly the map itself, your abilities, and how to really buy from the shop. The map has a lot of ups and downs to it, like literally, vertically, ropes, lifts, stairs, jumps, to learn how to navigate. But it also has a lot of ways to get stuck on things with your movement, and trust me, you will get stuck on those things. It also has a somewhat significant underground section that's used for navigating the map a bit more stealthily, including stuff like teleporters. I still tend to avoid these areas for the most part, as I still get lost in these sections of the map, and most of the time, I'd rather be above ground for a more direct path to wherever I'm trying to get. This underground section, I feel, is more for the gank potential during the laning phase or for trying to escape a fight, but even then, it's just a lot faster to stay above ground. Also, the teleporters don't even open up until 10 minutes into the game, along with some other map objectives, so you can't even really use them early. Next, again, this one kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your first few games will be incredibly overwhelming. Unless you've been watching a lot of content on the game, streams, videos, you're going to just have no idea what any character does at all. So you're not going to know how to fight against them. I have dozens of hours in the game. I'm still learning exactly what certain characters' abilities actually do. I've learned most of the characters' main abilities and traits, but I've only really played 6 to 8 characters extensively so far. My biggest recommendation here is to go into a bot match or two and just learn a character. It almost doesn't matter which one. I think 7 is a decent starting character to try out, but it doesn't matter too much. Go into a bot match or two and just learn what your skills do. Then maybe find a community build in the shop, follow along with that, although a good amount of the guides aren't exactly new player friendly in that they can use a lot of abbreviations and whatnot, and you're just not going to know what those things mean. Either way, do the tutorial, do a couple bot matches, and then learning what every other character does will come with time. If you have played a MOBA before, you can skip to the next section. But if you haven't, I'm going to very quickly explain what the gameplay of Deadlock is and what a MOBA is. You've probably heard of League of Legends before. That is a MOBA. Deadlock is also a MOBA, but it is in the format of a third-person shooter as opposed to a top-down isometric game. So, while the core of the MOBA experience is the same in both League of Legends and Deadlock, in that there's lanes on the map and enemy defenses that you need to knock down and buying items and fighting other people, the gameplay between the two is vastly different. Deadlock is a MOBA first and a third-person shooter second. This is not a team deathmatch, capture the flag type game. I'm not sure I would even play Deadlock if I wasn't okay with it primarily being a MOBA first. MOBA, Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, in case you didn't know that, the objective in a MOBA, typically, is to take out your opponent's base by pushing past all of their defenses. The map in Deadlock is split into 4 lanes, with 2 lanes having 2 players and 2 lanes having 1 player. Each lane in Deadlock has 3 towers of defense, a guardian, a walker, and then 2 guardians, while their base has the patron, aka the main target that you need to kill, along with some shrines that must be destroyed before you can fight the patron. You can kinda think of these as checkpoints in a very, very loose way. Gameplay in the early game is mainly in your lane, otherwise known as the laning phase. This is when you are at your weakest. You fight in lanes against other players, trying to farm money by killing minions in order to buy higher level items at the shop to better your chances at winning the game. There are also minion camps scattered throughout the map, not in lanes, most commonly known as the jungle. In other MOBAs, there is sometimes a role known as the jungler who would prioritize killing the minions in these camps, but as of this video, Deadlock has no jungle role. Everyone is in a lane. As time goes on, you'll enter the mid-game, a blend of the laning phase and now where other players will start roaming the map a bit more to push secondary and tertiary objectives or to try to kill other players. Items on players are at mid-power levels at this point as well. The switch from the early game to the mid-game and the mid-game to the late game aren't designated by a specific time on the clock, but generally speaking, you can expect to hit mid-game at about the 10 to 15 minute mark. Finally, after another chunk of time, you're going to enter the end game, where people are buying the highest level items in the game, and a lot more team fights start to happen, 5v5, 6v6, as opposed to smaller skirmishes that might be happening in the early or mid game. At this point, the objective is cleared. Win a team fight against the other team, and push the enemy objectives for the win. Respawns later in the game take upwards of 60 seconds or longer, so death is much more punishing later in the game than it is in the early game. Now, let's move to more specific Deadlock advice. This is very overarching advice. I'm not going to be going into specific combat tips or characters or game sense, anything like that. This is mainly for learning the basics about the game so that you're not overwhelmed. I also want to preface this section by saying that the game is still in early development, so while a lot of this advice should be generic enough to be evergreen, things could change at any time that might make some of these tips less important or completely irrelevant depending on when you watch this video. Number 1. Denies win lanes. When your enemy gets a last hit on a minion, they get souls, aka money. But also, a little soul flies out of the enemy that is also worth souls, and you can deny these souls by shooting it before your enemy does, giving you those souls instead. I am of the mind that you should be doing that as much as humanly possible while also ensuring that you get as many last hits on your own minions as well. Obviously, it's a wash if you're denying all of your enemy's minions, but they're denying all of yours. So a mix of both is ideal. And you can also keep track of how well you're doing pretty much instantly by just looking at the soul counts at the top of the screen. Although if you hit tab, you can also get a lot more information on the people that you're playing against. If you're in a good enough situation, it's not the worst idea to just spam shots at a minion as it dies in an attempt to pre-fire the soul before the enemy is able to hit it themselves. Number 2, deny your opponent's denies by meleeing the minions. If your last hit on a minion is with your basic melee attack, slow or fast, you do not need to shoot the soul that comes out of it in order to receive the full payout of souls from that minion. A minion that is flashing pink or has a bright pink health bar only needs a quick melee, while one with a little more HP, but not quite the same tone of pink, is going to need a charged melee. However, it's not always going to be reasonable to do this depending on your specific situation. It is a case-by-case, wave-by-wave, minion-by-minion decision to make. Putting yourself close to minions in a bad spot has 2 negatives. Number 1, other minions are going to attack you, and they deal enough damage to be annoying in the early game. And 2, the enemy will likely be able to poke at you and reduce your HP. Ideally, your melee last hitting behind some kind of cover, whatever it might be, poking in and out of play as you're able to do so. Number 3, spam your abilities. There is no mana in this game. It is not a resource that you need to keep track of. Therefore, unless you're waiting to set up some kind of kill attempt, you should be spamming your abilities to try to harass your opponents as much as possible. This goes for basically every character in the game, as far as I'm concerned. Find your best harassment tools and use them as much as you can. For support or movement-based moves, you might want to hold those off for a more specific use case. Don't get as spammy with those. This also extends into the mid-game as well. Don't be afraid to use something like your ultimate ability in a 1v1 scenario, or a 2v1 or a 3v1 in fear of not having it later. Just use your abilities because people are gonna use them on you. Number 4, buy early and buy often. All starting lanes have an item shop right next to them until your Guardian is taken down. Early game items cost somewhere in the 500 to 1250 soul range, and some of these items can have significant early game impact. It doesn't matter if you're 1,000 souls up on your enemy if they've gone back to buy items and you haven't. Try to mentally keep track of what item you're looking to buy next, and as soon as you have the opportunity to do so, meaning your lane is safe and your teammate is safe and you're not going to get pushed, go back and buy an item. Unspent money does nothing for you. Number 5, sell late and sell often. Many early game items do not convert into late game items, nor are they components of many end game items. The only ones that really do are generic things like cooldown reduction, some sort of bullet or spirit resistance, speed and stamina boots, stuff like that. If you find yourself in a spot with a lot of money but no item slots remaining, make sure you sell those early game items in favor of mid to late game ones. This is very generic advice though. You might be following a build that says to hang on to certain items. Refer to that build for more information, but very generally speaking, seek to sell off early game items or buy items that will convert into the mid or late game. I would not sell early game items if you still have room for other things, as some early game items do give nice bonuses even into the late game, but eventually you might want to sell those. Movement and or stamina based items are the only low tier items that I tend to keep around, but those can be upgraded. Number 6, practice activating your active items. Some items that you buy will have an active ability that you need to manually trigger by hitting whatever keybind you have that attached to. This was and continues to be a problem for me. I forget that I have to activate these items or that I have active items in the first place, and a lot of active items have incredibly strong effects on very short cooldowns. Start building the muscle memory for these items as they can and will turn the tide of fights. Number 7, don't forget about the jungle. There is no jungle type role in Deadlock, at least as of this video, but the alleyways of the map are littered with different levels of PvE enemies to go take out for some extra souls. As you're roaming the map, or maybe after you clean up a lane of enemies, find the nearest camps that you're capable of clearing and clear them out. The difficulty of a PvE camp is indicated on the minimap by this triangle. The more lines under the triangle, the harder the camp. Number 8, gold vases and boxes sometimes contain small buffs, like boosts to weapon damage, max HP, cooldown, things that last for the rest of the game. That or maybe some souls. Much like jungle enemies, if you see these crates and vases, you should break them to see if they have anything inside. Number 9 is a pretty big one. Movement is almost everything. While good movement is generally important in other MOBAs, in Deadlock, it is significantly more important. You only get so much stamina to use, and it gets used for basically all types of movement that you do, rolling, double jumps, etc. One key thing to learn is the dash jump, which is a longer jump move that can either propel you into a fight or can get you out of one. You can activate it during a very brief window after certain movements that you can make that use stamina. Your stamina bar will turn blue for a very brief moment, and that's your activation window. The timing is the same on all of these different jumps, so you can naturally get the muscle memory timing for this move. This also costs stamina to do, but the extra value in distance is well worth it. Not to mention that you can use that momentum that you get from the dash jump on other movements that you might do after that, even down to just a basic jump. One item that you should consider practicing with is the kinetic dash item. Using this item lets you dash jump without consuming stamina, on top of giving you other weapon-based benefits for a short time. Until I actually learned the jump dash timing, I thought this item was worthless, and if you don't dash jump, then it is worthless. But as soon as you master the dash jump, it's pretty hard to live without, although it definitely won't fit into every single build on every single character, and I wouldn't buy it every single time on every character just to have it. This is one of the first types of movement tech to master in Deadlock. Number 10, objectives give you indirect power. When you kill off enemy towers, in this case guardians, walkers, base guardians, you open up extra item slots for yourself and your team. These are really important because you only get so many item slots per category, And when you start to enter the late game, being able to have an additional end game item of any kind is really good because the slots are flex, so you can use anything. If you find yourself apprehensive to engage in fights, pushing objectives is rarely a bad thing, so long as you do it safely and while you know where the enemy team is. Just make sure you actually join the team for a fight or two at some point, and just make sure you don't overextend. Number 11, Melee Charge the Rejuvenator. The mid-boss, as it is currently called, is the Baron of Deadlock, giving your team a health regeneration buff if you defeat it. However, you don't just automatically get the buff, you need to destroy a crystal that comes down from the building after killing the mid-boss, which takes a few seconds to descend. When it starts to get close to the bottom, charge your melee and punch the crystal in order to get the buff for your team. I only say this because I had like 4 games in a row where my team killed the mid-boss, I left thinking that they would get it, only for it to be stolen by the enemy team. If you're worried about a potential steal, don't forget about the ability to parry enemy melee attacks, whatever you have that bound to. Number 12, base defense is not as good as you think. You will find yourself in situations where you want to fall back due to being low HP, or maybe you're in a 2v1 or a bad situation, and will perhaps anticipate that any base defenses, like Guardians and Walkers, will be an absolute deterrent to the enemy team. While at the absolute beginning of the game this is the case, most of the other times of the game, it's really not. Sure, being in your base or next to a Guardian in a 1v1 fight is better than not being next to one, but don't expect such a situation to be a guaranteed win for you. Walkers do have an AoE stun if things get too close, but otherwise, the Guardians do a little laser attack that is more than tankable by the enemy once the game actually gets rolling, especially if they have an item or two on you. Do yourself a favor, take the zipline all the way back to base to heal up, because people can dive you, and they can dive you very, very easily, and sometimes the Guardians are just not doing as much as you want them to do. Finally, number 13. In the early game, enemies respawn quickly. If you have a successful attack on another player and kill them, if it's still early in the game, they will be able to respawn and get back to their lane incredibly quickly, much faster than you might expect. If that's the case, you should try to clean up the lane as much as possible, get a little damage on a Guardian, and then back up and heal or shop if you need to. It will happen where you kill an enemy and you and your teammate are both low HP, the enemy respawns and comes flying in and kills you because you overstayed your welcome. Get the kill and then analyze if sticking around is viable or not. If it's not, get out. I think that's all my generic advice for now. Feel free to dump some of your own knowledge in the comment section for now. Like I mentioned melee parrying, but I didn't really expand on that because I'm not the most familiar with it just yet. I'm looking forward to playing the game more and maybe giving some more specific advice going forward or character guides or stuff like that. But for now, hopefully this can jumpstart your experience playing Deadlock so you're not as completely overwhelmed as I was when I first started. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.